Yeah, no, during ThetaCon, Dan and the whole, the team had asked me to meet with them beforehand at ThetaCon, and I said, yeah, sure, we'll set aside some time to meet. What do you guys want to talk about? Well, we'll talk about that when we get there. And I was like, okay, whatever. As soon as we sit down, it's just myself and Dan starts into his spiel about how valued I am and how they really value me as a first initial buyer, and they appreciate everything that I done, and they couldn't have done it without me, and this and that, and how they valued my opinions.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this special edition with Poppin' Mags, third time's a charm. We're here with Theta Frontman, and before we get involved too deeply, I just want to say that I absolve myself of all legal claims that may result from this episode. As you know, in the criminal justice system, they're represented by two separate yet equally important groups, Poppin' Mags, who investigate crime, and the Theta Frontman, who prosecutes the offenders. This is their story.
No need to absolve anyone, Pops. We have a terms of service that says we can't be sued. You got to take it to an arbitrator, and if you don't like it, then stop listening. I think is how it goes, right? That's legally binding.
Yeah, if you're listening, you've just agreed to that.
Absolutely, because that's how these things work.
That's what I've heard. Yes, you open it up and you've agreed.
So, what are we talking about today on this very special episode of Papa Mags?
This is a special episode, and we're talking about our play, and we got one of the head honchos here, the front man himself, formerly known as Swampy. Swampy, how you doing?
Yeah, we're doing a replay, right? Is that what we're doing now? So yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Early on in Papa Mag's infancy, they contacted us. They wanted to come on the show so they could let the Theta community know more about replay. And they came on and they explained that they had this streaming platform that was good for content creators, good for distributors of content, because it was going to fix this broken system allegedly that Hollywood has, where they don't get paid for 6 months, and that's maybe after someone else gets paid. So they were going to do it all on the blockchain. And the appealing part to everyone here on the Theta community was we could watch and earn, and that's their model: watch and earn. So they came on. We were really excited about what we heard. There was a white paper, tokenomics. We'll talk about that in a second. And we freely advertised these people, encouraged people to stream. In fact, early on in Replay's Discord, they encouraged everyone to just stream as much as they could on the background. It wasn't set up for, I don't think it was set up on Roku and some of these other devices, Amazon, Apple TV or whatever. So you could stream in the backgrounds. You could stream as much as you want, and they didn't care. And they were supposedly tracking the coin allocations of your watch and rewards in the back end, which I believe they did, because when the dashboard came out, it dumped all the coins in the dashboard. There was a project coming out that seemed really cool, got a lot of press. It's a project near and dear to our hearts, all three of us, the Psycho KO animated series. And the play was that they were having these packs. They had these card packs where you could get rarities and multipliers to increase your earnings on rewarded TV. And they probably did like just under 120,000. I don't know what the split was with Theta. And this was all to fund the Psycho KO pilot with the cast of Napoleon Dynamite. And additionally, in these packs of these NFT multipliers, there was some bubblegum. And we'll get to that in a second. But now I'd like to bring back Theta Frontman.
Yeah, I'm here. No, everything you said is completely accurate. And not only the show that you guys had, in which they kind of explained their platform, explained what they wanted to do, kind of the premise behind the whole thing, really got everybody's interest sparked. And even more so when Rob decided to, put together his show and collaborate with Replay and kind of make this whole thing work, which by all stretches of imagination, Rob and Psycho KO have hit a home run and done their thing. I think, everything they've ever promised. So this is not a knock by any means on any of that project, mainly picking apart the original project that we hopped in on. A lot of us did anyway. You look at the tokenomics paper, the white paper, everything that they wanted to put out, and how it reads, and it was all the buzzwords that we wanted as investors, right? Um, you know, like you said, watch to earn, a whole new crypto token available that was going to have its own ecosystem that was going to have some sort of value to it. We're not saying it was going to be worth millions per token, but the token was suggested to have some sort of value to it, as that's kind of what the whole ecosystem was built around. It was told to us that there was going to be a DEX where you would be able to swap for USDC and or fiat. That was another major decision for me because I felt like, okay, there's a safe off ramp if and when you need it to get rid of your coins or swap them out for something else. Not to mention, like you said, the bubblegum staking was going to be a kind of a multiplier, maybe, or not even sure how they kind of coined it, but
So there was
what
tiers though, right? With that, there was if you
yes,
accumulated, I don't know, what
10,000. Yeah, it's like
10,000 replay. Yeah, go ahead.
10,000, 20,000. I think all the way up to, I'm trying to.
100. I
Yep.
think it was 100.
And then depending on how many bubble gums you had, one, two, or you needed one, two, three, or
Or
four
you could go
bubble
up to 4,
gums.
I think, with 100,000, and then it was like
Hmm.
2, and then 1. But yeah, so
Yeah, for right now, basically what we've got is not only way different than what they initially wanted, but you cannot even access your tokens or exchange them or anything like that. So I don't know.
well, I mean, that's what blockchain's all about, is permissionless, transparent. Uh, you know, the,
e-
these are the things that these guys said they were going to fix with Hollywood, and they're still saying that they are the people to do it. But I don't know how. So okay, so basically, like, the issue now is, besides all the stuff that changed, which we'll mention, American citizens can't get our coins. It was never identified to us before, and Replay cites a US laws and regulations and whatever that they can't produce because I haven't seen it. And if something existed before they launched or after they launched, I haven't seen it. And they refuse to take questions on when Americans will get they refuse to answer in their Discord. They kicked me out, and they think we're stupid, is what I feel, my opinion, that we don't have our coins. Popper,
well,
Popper.
here.
Yeah, no, it seems like things have certainly changed on their end. I don't know if that's just publicly, right, or if it's been the case privately. We don't know. A lot of people are saying that there's been different things that have happened and rules that have changed that have caused this, but I just don't really see it. And personally, to me, there's other ways around it. I know that I've brought it up before. They're saying that the watch and earn is a problem because you're really not doing anything to earn it, kind of like staking, right? But I mean, we're able to stake T Fuel, we're able to stake other tokens, so I don't understand. We're able to stake our play, right? So how is that any different than watch and earn? But I did bring up the solution is some kind of voting at the end. Oh, I see that you just watched this movie, rate it and earn your tokens. That's how easy this whole thing is to fix. But they're not doing that. They're choosing to instead kind of hold American coins hostage. And, honestly, to me, it's bigger than just the American coins being held hostage, because even our international friends who have their tokens, they just have these right now worthless token. Like, what are you supposed to do with it? Somebody opened up a little a swap on Data Swap, but that's a community one. There's hardly anything in it. you can't take your coins there and do anything of value on that exchange. So, I mean, even our international friends are just sitting on basically worthless tokens, except the only difference is they actually have them in their wallet. So I'm not sure if that's where you wanted me to go, but that's where I went.
Well, no, that's a great point. I think another thing that we missed too, and the signs were all there, especially during the first Pop and Mags interview, and then now looking back over all the old stuff that we thankfully saved, all your interns saved there at the studios. Thank you, interns. Um, eh, the fact that they're all about startups. That's all they do is startups. That's all they talk about is startups. That's all they're together for is startups. That's all that's on their resume is startups. And come to find out, that's what I feel like they started this thing. And then they've all of a sudden, this is just my speculation, been advised to change a lot of this to make them more sellable or more appealing on a sale rather than this old model that new companies don't really know, that aren't sure, and there's still quote unquote some SEC murky waters to navigate. So what they did is it seems like they got some advice from a lawyer, and all of a sudden, boom, they whip a terms of service on us and change a white paper without even being forward and saying, hey, we're going to change a white paper. We had to dig for it after the terms of service came out. Not only not only to me does the terms of service a slap in the face because I always hate terms of service. I don't even read them. No one does. But to even be able to access your account, you had to agree to the terms of service. That doesn't even, I'm not even sure what world we're living in, but it doesn't fly well with me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, that felt like a hostage situation, right? We have your tokens. If you even want to access them anymore, you have to sign this. And it's shouldn't have been the way it worked. Like, we already earned those. You can't impact those with the new terms of service. They've already been earned. They're already ours, based on the original agreement that we had with them, whether it was written, verbal, or whatever it was. That's how it was done, right? We watched, we earned, we helped build this thing up. We helped to break some things for them that they then fixed, and because of that, we're able to improve upon. It's not like, it's a little different for me, and I've said this before, like, sure, I spent quite a bit of time streaming these things and doing that end of it and getting set up and doing that and helping in that way, for sure. Yes, I spent some money on some multipliers, but I didn't go like super heavy like some people. But you know this whole thing, like, none of us are being treated properly here, and that includes the international as well. Like, where these guys came out, when, and now here we are. uh we're February 28th, 2024, and still you can't use a token anywhere, America or
No,
international.
no, you're right. And once again, it does look as though the Pop and Mags count up on the decks for these guys is just going to continue to run like a madman because I don't see it in the new tokenomics distribution. So that's one thing that if they've taken that away, that's a huge how are we going to get rid of our coins now, or like what's the plan? I mean, I've even seen some of their competitors which they've mentioned, they've got coins, and it looks like you can access them on KuCoin and a couple of other BitMEX or BitTrex or somebody maybe, and then like Uniswap V2, Video Coin, and I think Veracity were both a couple of coins that I saw trading. I'm not sure how they can trade and get away with certain things, and then all of a sudden these guys are worried about it. But those are just kind of some red flags that don't match up, and unfortunately, they are holding us hostage, like you say.
So basically, Swampy, or Frontman, as I was, hopped in to this project big when the Psycho KO came out, and he spent over 17 grand buying these NFT multipliers and bubble that came with the bubble gum for staking. And this was still all on the roadmap. This was still um, everything was going the white paper. The Wes Levitt interview on May 3rd, 22. Uh, Dan was talking, and Krish pulled up the roadmap, and the roadmap had Q4 of B22 for staking, and there was in airdrops for the coin, and none of that happened. So going into ThetaCon, it happened right before ThetaCon, correct, Frontman? With this the replay Psycho KO, and
Yes.
you went in based on all of all of the information that they provided. And then what happened was they said they were ready to. I think they were. I don't know if they were teased in February or March 2023. They're ready to give the coin by the end of the month, and then they missed that deadline. And then they said, "Oh, there was just this audit thing they had to do." And then we get into a new white paper, a terms of service. We didn't even have this terms of service before. Well, okay, well, I spent $17,000. Not, I'm saying you, like you spent all this money to get in on this based on what they put out, and you're not the only one that put in money, but you put in a sizable chunk, I would say, of the funding for this project, and they just they refuse to do what's right, and I contest, and I believe that the American market is the biggest holders, or should be the biggest holders of the replay. And I also believe that Americans that took part in the private sale did not receive any tokens, is my understanding of that. So all that being said is we built the platform for them. They changed the terms of service. Well, it's really convenient to change the terms of service, change the white paper, change the tokenomics after you spend $17,000. And oh, by the way, they didn't tell you. They kept telling you, "Oh, it's going to be okay. We're going to get it down the line. We're not doing that." And then all of a sudden say, "Yeah, we're not doing that." And oh, we're hiding behind legal jargon that they can't and won't produce. Um,
Well, and to be quite honest, I would have rather just given Rob the 17 myself.
right.
You know what I mean? I would have rather invested that way if I knew that how this was going to come out, because basically, I don't even know how to explain what we've done, but really we've agreed to do business with a company who has told us that this is what they do and given us all this information as to this is how they do business. And then as soon as we're in the door, they've slap up a terms of service, change the sign on the door, and nobody's there to answer or questions or even do anything. There's we're stuck.
Yeah, and the thing that okay, so one, I don't know of any other Theta coin project that just refused to give people the coins that's developed citing U.S. regulation, because everyone else has, right? Is that right or wrong? I don't know, but everyone else has. They have not. But and I also feel I don't know. I feel a little betrayed by Theta because they invested in these guys. I think Mitch is advisor for them, or he's listed as an advisor, and they're repeatedly people at Theta, Mitch, they are retweeting, and a lot of it has to do with Rob's show, which I love, but Replay wants their comeuppance, and they're retweeting Replay, and like people got into Replay because they like Theta. They like the Theta community, and they refuse to acknowledge the community. Once again, sizable U.S. community, I would argue, if not the whatever. It's big. It's large, and not say anything about it. But then you're retweeting them, and so they're ignoring. So like even like Theta is like ignoring us because now they can't do anything. It's not their company, but people Theta put Theta put this on Theta Drop. They put this on the platform. Wes was on promoting them early on. They came on our show. We promoted it. Once they started once it started to affect us, we said, "Hey, hold on a second." They kept changing everything on us, and we said, "Well, that's not right. We need to say something about it." But no one else really has said anything about it or seems to care. I just don't understand why Theta would would just ignore their people in favor of someone who's refusing to do the ring by their community. Because
Well,
I argued from the beginning, when a possible when it was even like first floated that maybe Americans couldn't get it, that well then Europe, not European, the international market shouldn't get it either, because why would you do that? And then right now I believe that the international can stake their replay. So the way an American get the replay is to get it off Theta Swap. I would assume is the only way to get it. And so only if you pay money can you get it. And it's just so disingenuous to everyone that took them at their word. I understand things happen. There's delays, but they kept like delaying and delaying. Nope, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it's like, oh, sorry, nothing we can do for you. And like, okay, put all that aside. That let's say they're legally sound. Like, I don't care if they're legally sound, but let's say that they're doing the right thing by not giving us the coins, and there's no end in sight. Why should we keep? Why should Americans keep watching their shitty programming, building their fucking network, and for something that they could probably sell and flip? To your point, Swampy, that these guys are serial entrepreneurs. They do startups. They don't finish anything. They just start it up, sell it. The terms of service made it feel like, hey, you can't sue us, and we could do whatever we was thing. So, i.e., we could sell it to somebody else if someone was stupid enough to want to buy their shitty platform. But yeah, so like, there's no end in sight. And Popper, Popper, I argue with him all the time. He was talking about how the wine place you worked at, where the laws changed in one state so you couldn't ship the wine. You
yeah.
didn't just hold the wine there, say sorry, we can't send it to you. No, hey, let's get them a refund or whatever, right? Isn't that what
Oh
happened?
yeah, 100%. I mean, if we can't get it to you, like we don't just say too bad, you know. Yeah. I mean,
And
that's just standard business practice, right? Being a good
yes,
doing good business.
that's normal common sense. And once again, like Theta tweeting about them, and I don't see, it just sounds like we don't care. Like, yeah, they have an obligation because they invested in the in replay, but they also have an obligation to Theta holders in the Theta community who, saw those guys tweet and invest as like, hey, maybe this is something I should do. And it's it's disingenuous to everyone, that Americans and international. So replay's not living up to their end, but we're fudding that. We keep getting that we're fudding.
We it's just very frustrating. And like you say, with Theta, not necessarily. I mean, yes, they are trying to promote their projects, but they are turning a blind eye to some of this stuff, which I guess sadly enough has been a common theme in America these days. Don't you guys agree that? I mean, you can see this on a large scale too, especially with politics. It seems like everybody's just they know that what's going on is not right, and yet no one is willing to say anything about it, or very few people are willing to stand up and say something about it when it affects everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like they just want us to be quiet and, take our medicine. Not comparing this, but similar to G World, right? I mean, it was like this was kind of touted as the thing. It was given, it was given press by Theta and those guys, and then it starts to go down. And have you heard anything from Theta about it? Condemning it? I haven't. Same
No,
here.
Nope.
I
So it's like, just like being quiet about it and hoping it goes away rather than, listen, you know, we had Popcorn Boy on here and he rugged, right? We we're guilty. Sorry, like it's not our fault that he rugged. We liked the guy, seemed like a decent guy. Popcorn was great first time around, but he rugged. We've had a few ruggers on. Theta Diamond, you know? That doesn't make it our fault no more than it makes it Theta Labs' fault that these other projects are doing nefarious or not living up to expectations. It's not their fault, but let's not be quiet about it and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, take responsibility, even though, yeah, like you said, it's not their fault. Like, hey, this is not right. I agree with you, or like, hey, that's not allowed. Um, you should let everyone. Um, and always go with that.
Yeah, no, you should let everyone have your coins. I mean,
Yeah.
there is absolutely no reason why every other project on Theta has given out their coins to their customers, and these guys have not.
Swampy, can you from the beginning of when you wanted to invest in our play and you did your research, obviously you read into it, what made you so excited about it? And do you think that there's a way for this to be fixed?
Ooh, I mean, I hopped in, number one, just because of the opportunity to earn a new cryptocurrency that I thought was going to do real well with off roads and kind of avenues to get rid of stuff, like we've said. I was excited about the project. I thought, the intention was great by streamlining payments and streamlining all that good stuff that they were talking about. I just, it was the right space at the right time, at least, maybe not monetarily, because everything, Bitcoin wasn't doing that well. But I was still looking to, part of the problem was Theta really kind of put a nick on everybody's tokens because they were the first ones to slow down. They didn't come out in Q4, remember, like they were supposed to with all the tokens. So that threw a
For the
hitch in every.
the meta chain, right?
Yes, from
Launch.
from the get go, yes, they had that Q4 that they were going to launch the meta chain and do all this and that, and all the tokens were going to be released, and it wasn't, and so that threw the initial hitch. But now to not even be able to get these coins when every other project has come out with coins and given them to you, is very sus. So I don't know what else needs to be said on that part.
I was just curious, Swampy, is there do you
A
do
way
you do
forward.
you think this is broken completely, or do you think that there's still opportunity here?
I don't think they've I don't think they've completed probably what they've said they've even done so far, so I'm sure you could change it. I mean, they already changed it once. What's the difference in changing it again? So yeah, I'm sure that if they wanted to change this, they would be listening to the community and trying to get, trying to do what they say, community driven, this and that and another thing. But they don't. They made this thing as a startup to hopefully get it rocking and rolling and sell out. That's all they wanted to do. So with that said, no, I don't think there's probably a way forward because they don't care. They're just looking to get rid of this as quickly as possible. Now, if they were in it for the long haul and they wanted to build a proper platform and keep it as their own and have a unique business model, yes, it's changeable, it's fixable.
So now, speaking of selling out, Mags was speaking about a solicitation offer, basically, that was made to you. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, during ThetaCon, Dan and the team had asked me to meet with them beforehand at ThetaCon, and I said, yeah, sure, we'll set aside some time to meet. What do you guys want to talk about? Well, we'll talk about that when we get there. And I was like, okay, whatever. Soon as we sit down, it's just myself and Dan starts into his spiel about how valued I am and how they really value me as a first initial buyer, and they appreciate everything that I done, and they couldn't have done it without me, and this and that, and how they valued my opinions, and they wanted me to be they were looking for me to come on the team and help them be a community member. And I was like, well, okay, so what does that entail? well, we're going to give you some replay. And I was like, well, but how does that, if how does that work? We didn't really get into it too much, but in a sense, Dan was wanting to offer me replay for me to be a community member. I don't know what, I don't not, I mean, ultimately, yeah, he was just trying to get me to hush up, is what I would assume, because I have no reason to really be a community member. And then if they're not going to listen to me anyway, wha- you would think if they wanted me to be a community member that bad, they would be talking and wanting to talk and listen to me rather than just ignore. Um, so I knew it was just a front. I didn't get a good feeling. He couldn't even hardly look me in the eyes when we talked. He was just rambling, and I just got an awkward feeling, and I just said, "I appreciate the offer. I'll get back with you." And I've never have.
And two, it's Popper, like, why would Swampy, obviously, he spent a lot of money, but why would it be like, oh, it's okay to get Swampy some coins somehow, but not anyone else?
Yeah, and see, I don't play like that either. I knew what was going on, and I'm like, man, I just don't. I couldn't look at myself if I, even though I know I probably have the right to take whatever money they wanted to give me and
Sure.
kind of cover it up, help the band-aid, stop the bleeding a little bit. But I just don't feel right about that. And I knew their intentions aren't right. So I said no. I just didn't get a good feeling about
I kind of see this too as, if they're having difficulties. So like if you have a contract and they're like they stop paying you or whatever, and then or they cut your benefits or something, and then you go on strike, whatever, like you're not fucking working. So I guess the point of that is, why are Americans still building their program something that they hope they can sell? Because take all that out of it. Like, hey, most of us just bought minimal NFTs, and you know we streamed some stuff. I watched a bunch of that. Was it the not Goku, but was it Goku?
it. Yeah, Yogi, Yogio.
Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched a bunch of that Yu-Gi-Oh! That was great. I mean, I was streaming in the background, but I got so caught up in that thing. That was probably like the last big thing I watched on there. So it's not like they couldn't do it, but why are we as Americans? No offense to the international people, and I would encourage them to join with us, but like, okay, they're not paying us, they're not addressing us, they're not looking Frontman in the eye. He's got beautiful eyes, and they're not looking anyone in the eye. They refuse to answer the questions of why we can't get him. It's like a thing in their Discord. Like, they will not answer it. Someone will send a message and they'll answer that message right under it. They refuse. I mean, it's just so telling, the lengths that they're going to avoid accountability for this. So
We
let's hold them accountable. Let's stop watching and earning on their because we're not earning. So why should we be watching?
One other thing we forgot to mention was how they've moved the goalpost on those damn movies anyway. They initially said that they were gonna have some psycho movies that would rotate every quarter or whatever the number was that they said they would do. They have not stuck to that. They have not even come close to rotating these movies. I can't remember if the Lone Ranger's still even up there, is it?
I don't go on. I don't know.
But yeah, no, that was another thing that pissed me off too, was the not rotating the movies like they said they would. Because they knew, I just felt like they knew I had a shitload of multipliers, and they weren't going to let me take advantage of what I could have taken
And
advantage of.
and it was their and it was their whole thing that, unlimited multipliers for that.
Yeah, yeah,
For
yeah,
to
yeah.
watch
I'm
the Psycho Picks, unlimited. That was them.
quite, yeah, yeah. Quite honestly, when myself and Tygon King were looking at the project, we were thinking maybe out of those packs, maybe we would be lucky with like a average of 2 to 3x. It's not my fault they came out with 9x. And I mean, this is their project. They should have paid attention.
100%. I remember thinking the same thing. I was like, yeah, maybe 3x will be a good one. My first card that I opened was like 10x. I was like, oh my goodness, I just hit the jackpot.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
I
yeah.
realized it wasn't even that good.
Yeah. Average, right?
Yeah. Average pull. It was ridiculous.
Back to my statement, I guess, or do you think people they find value in what they're watching, I guess? Um, but like do you honestly think people should encourage their bad behavior on ignoring us and building their platform, and they got the terms of service and a new white paper to hide behind, so they're lawyered up, but I'm just like, why are we even watching? Why is anyone watching?
I mean, at this point, if you are watching and you are going out of your way to do so, then you're basically gambling on the fact that you think at some point in the future there will be an RPlay token DEX, a use for these tokens. As they've claimed, there will be premiums in this and that you'll be able to spend the token on. That's what you're doing. If there's stuff on there that you want to watch, then it's not a heavy lift to do so.
Yeah.
But you're if you're doing this to get the tokens, you're just taking a gamble with your time and energy that you're wasting, possibly.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I give a quick breakdown of how the Frontman came about?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, you guys explained it in your last episode that, you see me on the thumbnail. Clearly, Theta wants me, right? They want me up there. They just
100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Who
this
would?
goes back to a fraternity day. We were in a fraternity meeting, and the president stands up there and he put a big old bottle of Jack Daniels up there and he said, "Hey, boys, who wants this?" And we all froze. Like, what the heck? There was a caveat to it, right? We all assumed there was a caveat to it. Well, of course, the biggest drunk pledge brother of ours, "I'll take it." He runs up there, grabs it, and our president was like, "See, right there. Everybody assumed there was something attached to this, so you paused." He didn't pause. Sometimes there's no caveats, there's no nothing. You just got to go take it when it's available. That's exactly how the front man came about. I see my picture on the front, capture it. I'm the front man.
Very opportunistic of you.
That's what I'm talking about. It was there. It was there for the taking. I had to take it. The rest is history.
We'll play the background.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and this has been your replay with Pop and Mags
And the front man.
and the front man. That's right. This has been your replay with Pop and Mags and the front man.
You have been listening to the Pops and Mags Pinecast. Music provided by Sushi Cat. Like what you hear? Send that cat a very nicely worded compliment on Twitter at JustAddSpam. Pops and Mags is a Scumbag Hat production in association with Pam's Day Spa.